Hi everyone. I've been waiting a while to get to this game. Dragon Quest III is one of my two all-time favorite games ever made. Something about this mournful but playful adventure has always grabbed me. Somehow, I never actually owned a copy of this game when I was younger. I'd rent it from the video game stores, make it to Alifgard, and then it was time to bring it back, so I'd rent it again the next weekend and have to start all over. I never minded that though. This is the PS5 remake, the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. It's really cool to see what the creators of the original 8-bit game had in mind, seeing it in this lush high graphics format for the first time. They've also added a number of scavenger hunt and enhanced elements. Treasure to find on the world map, monsters to collect and add to the battle arena teams, voice actors for key characters, and a rebalanced leveling system so you can move forward without the intense and time-consuming grinding you had to do in the original. If you're new to my playthroughs, I'm playing this game set on Japanese. I'll provide translations of on-screen text as we go, as a guide for people interested in learning to read Japanese. As a learner myself, please let me know if you spot errors or want to debate any interpretations. In my text boxes, I'll mark hiragana text in white, katakana text in green, and kanji characters in blue. That will be followed by a phonetic reading of the text, then a literal word-for-word interpretation, and finally by my interpretation of the actual meaning in the full text. You are welcome, of course, to pause the video at any point if you want to take your time reading. I'm playing at speed to make the video watchable. I'll add index points in the video description if you want to advance to any particular point in the game. Now that the game is set up is done, we'll see a new opening to the game that wasn't in the original and hear from presumably the goddess Rubis. The renaming of Dragon Quest to Dragon Warrior for the North American release was caused by a copyright conflict. There was already a tabletop game called Dragon Quest owned by TSR, the makers of Dungeons & Dragons. It was their foray into bringing younger audiences into the Dungeons & Dragons universe. When Dungeons & Dragons was taken over by Wizards of the Coast, they allowed their trademark to lapse, giving the Square Enix the opportunity to rebrand the Dragon Warrior games as Dragon Quest. The last Dragon Warrior game released was Dragon Warrior 7 on PS1. Incidentally, Dragon Quests 5 and 6 did not get a North American release until they were ported onto the Nintendo DS in 2009. I will also accelerate the battle scenes. Key battles will occur at normal play speed with translations, but given that they are repetitive and add a lot of playtime, plus there are a lot more work to translate and label, we can focus on the meaty stuff. These early Dragon Quest games have the unusual characteristic of not really relying a ton on boss fights. Most levels don't have a boss to tackle. That doesn't mean there aren't some tough fights sprinkled throughout though. This game is out of sequence with the first two Dragon Quests. They were called Dragon Warrior for the original North American releases. It's actually a prequel to the first game. You might recall a lot of mentioning of the legendary hero Erdrick in Dragon Quest I, or the hero Lodo if you played in Japanese. He was the ancestor of our lonely hero that saved the world from an evil fiend. That is our protagonist for this game. We're getting the story of Erdrick Lodo and how he came to be that legendary hero. Even this hero seems to have a legendary father, the hero Ortega, that everyone knows and that we're following in the footsteps of throughout. Unfortunately, it seems that Ortega was defeated and fell into a great volcano, never to be seen again. We're at the last hope to continue the work of our father and rid the world of the evil Baramos. I don't know if all this stuff has any real impact to how the game works, but Rubis wants to know all about the player, separately from the main character. She then asks us a series of situational questions to better understanding our position on the good-evil spectrum, our ambition, and our tactical tendencies. Maybe this impacts our starting stats? I haven't experimented to be sure. Rubis is a deity character throughout the Dragon Quest series. While she wasn't originally mentioned in the first game, she's been added by references and remakes since. She was a key element of Dragon Quest II, and the reason we had to collect the 5 crests to open a channel of communication so that we could get the Holy Talisman. In this game, we'll eventually meet and save Rubis, who's being held captive by the game's true villain. After Dragon Quest III, the series takes a more Final Fantasy approach, with each game using common elements but taking place in different worlds with different characters. Rubis, however, does appear as a deity or spirit figure in a few other games. now that Rubus is done with her quiz, looks like we're going to get a more practical test. Suddenly, our character has taken on the form of a monster, and it seems we're down in some little underground water here. Let's climb up. Ooh, and we're in a village! And the villagers are displeased. Run away! And we have one brave soul willing to take on this monster and protect his town. And he comes in for the attack. And he's not going to let me leave. The act of talking to the villager results in their being torched. So I have a choice now. I can go through and I can utterly destroy every last person in this village. But if I want to be playing the way Rubus would prefer to see, I will just leave the village and not torch everybody. And it appears that was the choice that has made her decide I am a heroic character. Getting a nice summary of what she's interpreted from my responses. Another addition to this game is that the characters all have their personality, and that personality guides how stat growth happens when you level up. There are a series of tones that you can collect throughout the game that will change a personality from one type to another, which you can use to increase certain stats or maybe slow down the growth of others as you level up. On top of that, Dragon Quest III is the first one that introduced the Tower of Dharma, which becomes a pretty much characteristic of games for a long way to come. It allows you to take your job class and change to something else. Doing that, of course, brings your character back down to level 1, but not at the original level 1 stats. In this game, it brings your stats to, I believe, half of what they were when you initiate it, but then you're at level 1, and you can rapidly increase your stats. So, in fact, it's a way to sort of supercharge your characters to do that change if you're patient. There's also a secret class that you can get by taking on an optional dungeon. But we're ways off from that, so we can cover that more later. Now we're actually into the game proper. This is pretty much where the original Dragon Quest began. Mother is waking you up on your 16th birthday, telling us that it is time to go meet the king. Getting our little prologue here, though, of the brave Ortega and his departure on his quest.
Timeじゃな。
はい。あの子を起こしてきますね。 起きなさい。起きなさい。私の可愛いお寝坊さんや。おはよう。もう朝ですよ。今日はとても大切な日。あなたが王様に旅立ちの許しをいただく日だったでしょ。この日のためにお前を勇敢な子に育て上げたつもりです。さあ、母さんについていらっしゃい。
Searching drawers, pots, bookshelves, barrels, treasure chests, all of that can be fruitful in this game. So I just got a Seed of Strength, which is a nice thing. It permanently adds to my strength stat. There were pretty limited numbers of those in the original game to make sure you didn't go too crazy with your stats. But in this remake, they're quite generous. So you can amp a character up with those alone pretty substantially above and beyond what would normally happen with their level. So it helps even more with that leveling rebalancing system that they were talking about. So with that in hand, I'm following my mother. She's going to lead me through town all the way to the gates of the castle and shoo me off to go see the king. Can't be embarrassing the family of the great hero Ortega after all.
ここからまっすぐ行くとアリア藩のお城です。王様にちゃんと挨拶するのですよ。さあ、行ってらっしゃい。
よくぞ来た。勇敢なるオルテガの子よ。
オルテガ殿のご遺品は全く見つけられませんでした。
そうか。しかしオルテガほどの者がやられるとは。
立派に戦いました。きっと本望だと思います。
すでに母から聞いておろう。そなたの父オルテガは戦いの末火山に落ちて亡くなってしまった。しかしその父の後を継ぎ旅に出たいというそなたの願いしかと聞き届けたぞ。そなたならきっと父の意志を継ぎ世界を平和に導いてくれるであろう。敵は魔王バラモスじゃ。世界のほとんどの人々は未だ魔王バラモスの名前すら知らぬ。だがこのままではやがて世界は魔王バラモスの手に。それだけは何としても食い止めねばならぬ。若き勇者よ、魔王バラモスを倒してまいれ。しかし一人ではそなたの父オルテガの不運を再びたどるやもしれぬ。町の酒場で仲間を見つけ これで仲間たちの装備を整えるがよかろう。
勇者殿、旅を続けてゆくにはいずれ盗賊の鍵が必要になりましょう。王のおっしゃる通り、まずはルイーダの酒場で旅の仲間を探すのです。そしてアリア藩の北西にあるレーベの村に行ってみてください。地図にレーベの場所を記しておきました。今回は本来は自分の足で城や村を見つけなければ印はつきませんのでご注意を。地図上で気になる場所を見つけたら実際に行って確かめてみることです。ただし魔物にはお気をつけて。
そなたの働きに期待しているぞ。
And that concludes my official audience with the king, so I can now just explore the castle, talk to everybody here, get their thoughts and tips on what I might be needing to do next. But ultimately, my job is to find a way to defeat Barmos. An epic quest, to be sure. It'll take me all over the world. But as for right now, I'm sort of stuck on this little island country in the middle of the ocean, known as Aliahan. We'll see a bit later, but the interesting thing is this is the only Dragon Quest that uses a world map that really actually looks an awful lot like the real world, with some liberties. Aliahan, however, is a continent that does not exist in the real world. I'm sort of a mind that they were thinking Atlantis a little bit, given the sort of middle of the ocean nature of it. But outside of that, pretty much everything else has an analog in the real world. They even kind of used cultural tropes and suggestive naming to further indicate that. But in the meantime, I'm going to loot the place and learn what I can. Alright, these red locked doors are definitely a thing. There are 3 levels of locks in this game, pretty similar to what Dragon Quest II had. We've got the red doors, the blue doors, and then the jail doors. So for now, we can focus on finding the thief's key, which opens the red doors. There are several of them here in this castle, and a very important one in the village of Reeve that was just mentioned. So we will have to do that, basically, to continue on the game. So that's probably our first objective. Mini medals, another trope of Dragon Quest. So pretty much from this game forward, we have these mini medals that we can find, and there is somewhere a mini medal king that really likes to collect them, and he will give me lots of increasingly lavish rewards if the more of these mini medals I collect. In this game, he actually resides here in Eliahan, so we'll be meeting him pretty soon, and hopefully we can learn a little bit more about what kind of prizes we can get. Now, I think we've got pretty much everything we're going to get out of the castle in terms of information and items at the moment. Until we have a key to go into some more of those doors. So it's time to explore the village. Definitely a fairly large place, given, at least for this game, it's one of the first ones, so they put a little more into it, I think. So lots of people to talk to, some shopping to do, as I mentioned, the Metal King, and very importantly, Luida's Tavern, because unlike Dragon Quest 1, this is not a solo quest. I need to build a party and make sure I've got some companions to help me throughout, because the boss fights would be insanely brutal to try to do with a single character. Not my cup of tea, so let's take care of that and enjoy exploring the town. As with pretty much all the Dragon Quests, we have the church. This is really originally where we do our healing and recording, but we can also uncurse ourselves, we can depoison, and other services like that. In some cases, I believe you can actually save at the church too. It used to be you had to go to the king to save, but subsequently we've made it a little more easy, so you can save in a lot more opportunities and locations so that you don't have to go and find a castle every single time. There are a number of rulers that we get to talk to throughout this game, so it wasn't just one place like it was in Dragon Quest 1, but we want to make it fairly easy. This fellow lets us know about when we go out of town and walk a while, it'll become night. Dragon Quest III introduced a day-night cycle for the first time in the series. When you enter town at night, the shops are closed, people are asleep, and only the night owls are up and about. You can learn new things, access new areas, and in this version recruit some monsters differently in the day and the night. There's also a brief evening period out in the field that impacts a few things. For the towns, it's just the 2 modes. Later, there'll be an item and a spell that can cause that day-night shift on demand, saving the need to go out and walk with the monsters so much to get to the time you want. So now we're down here in the well, and we found the Metal King. So he's got a few folks down here with him, I guess some groupies. We'll just chat them up a little bit and see what they have to say. have our list of prizes. So based on, we can see how many medals we need to collect to get these various items. Starts out pretty basic with a thorn whip, but we're getting into fancier and fancier things. I like the sound of a staff of revival. And there's a lot more. And a third page even. I bet this samurai toga is something special. 110 medals, so that's a lot. Don't know if I'll find them all in this run through, but we'll see how far we can get, I guess. Now the Metal King is going to tell us a little bit about his deal, I guess. I did find that one in the castle, so we knew about that. But with only one, I'm not going to get anything, so I might as well continue exploring the town. Always been this little bit of a thing in Dragon Quest where you're just raiding treasure chests and all that kind of stuff all over the place, and isn't that theft? So apparently, according to this kid, it's not, because if they're in there, somebody forgot all about it, so you're welcome to take it. Your conscience is clear. Loot away. Now we're at the weapon and armor store, a staple of every town. Dragon Quest games typically don't really set it up so that you arrive with the money you need to just buy the best of everything all at once. So let's see what we can do here. Got 91 gold that I've acquired from all the little pots and chests and from the king himself, and that's enough to get a couple things. Not sure who needs a club, but yeah, we'll just slowly, gradually get everybody upgraded, or I should say my one guy. When I have the full party, I can do a bit better. We also have the inns with their cozy fireplace. This is the place where you get to restore all your health and magic. Old-fashioned games, MP restoration was not something that you could just count on doing a lot, having a stack of 99 ethers or something. Nope. You'd get the occasional little item that you usually couldn't buy in stores. You had to rely on what you found in the treasure chests. And if they were for sale, they were so expensive, getting one or two would be pretty much it. This is loosened up a little bit, but you still don't want to count on having a ton of MP restoration. But on the other hand, leveling up refills everything. They have a setting you can disable for that, but I don't see any reason to. I think it's a nice reward for getting through all that experience. And as you get further onto the game, the level ups become a little rarer, so you can't count on that to the same level you can earlier. Now we have the tool shop. We're getting a little bit of a lesson on what a Chimera wing does, or Chimera, however you like to say it. And here we see you can actually buy some really limited weapons and armor at the tool shops, but primarily they're your source for medical herbs, antidotes, Chimera wings, whatever kind of status elements or items that you might want to use in battle or to help you out with your healing. Don't think I need anything today, so we'll just move on and continue with our explorations. We also have the roaming sisters. They can basically do all the same stuff that a church can do, but they've positioned them around in a few more locations, so you don't necessarily have to find all the way to the church if you're in a town, and sometimes they'll just be hanging out in a dungeon somewhere or wherever nuns typically hang out. But this one in particular also allows you to save the game, which is a good thing to do from time to time, because you don't want to end up losing. However, one nice thing is a lot of RPGs, you get a game over, that's it. The game shuts down, you have to go basically back to your previous save. In Dragon Quest, however, you just get returned to the latest person that took your save game, usually the local king or something. They will charge you the measly fee of half the gold you had in stock at the time, and you'll carry on your way, none the worse for wear. However, if your party members all got wiped out, they probably are not restored, so in addition to losing half your gold, you'll have to go to the church and make 1 million donations to get them all brought back to life, which can be quite a drag. You do have the option to store gold in a bank, so if you've got a lot you're carrying around, you're worried you might get smoked in the dungeon, you can store that gold in the bank, usually in 1,000 gold increments, although I think in this version they've loosened that up as well, and that gold is safe for you to withdraw another time, but it is a nuisance because you have to actually go and physically withdraw it before you can actually use it. So here we've made it now to Luda's Tavern, so I'm just chatting to all the yokels here, having a nice drink, seeing what's up. This is where we come to meet our new companions and to build a party. So let's just chat with everybody and see what they have to say. This bard now is giving us a bit of a clue. Heroes are chosen by heaven, sage chosen by God. So a sage is not a class that's available for us to just recruit somebody to. We have to find a way to get there. So remember I mentioned there's a secret job that you have to do an optional dungeon to get? Well, maybe that's what it is. So this is the registration desk. If you go down to Luida directly, she'll have a few default companions you can choose from, which are actually the ones we'll probably go with, which is your standard warrior, priest, and wizard. If you want to have anything more unique or change up that balance in any way, you have to come here first to the registration desk so you can basically create a new companion. So picking their class and some basic features about them so that they'll then be available to choose from down here.
いらっしゃい。ついにこの時が来たのね。あなたが生まれた時のことはよく覚えているわ。あの時は私もまだ子供だったけれど、まるでお姉さんになった気分でね、少し大人になれた気がしたわ。もうあれから16年も経ったのね。さて、知っているとは思うけど、ここルイーダの酒場は旅人たちが仲間を求めて集まる酒場よ。ここにはあなたの旅を助けてくれる冒険者たちがたくさんいるわ。仲間が必要なら私に任せてね。そうね。これからはさん付けで呼んだ方がいいかしら。それでは改めて。
Alright, now that Luida's shared a little bit of history with us, we can see the menu of companions available here. We've got our soldier, our wizard, and our priest as predicted. One's named Elias, one's named Marlon, and one's named Pierre. So let's go through that process of recruiting them and adding them to the team. One at a time. Now that I've got a party in tow, time to leave town and see what the outside world looks like. So we can look at a map, but we also have the little map showing up there. Look at that, right outside, we're already getting treasure. A lot of stuff all in one go. Stamina seed. Medical herbs. Oh, more treasure already. A life tree fruit. So, like the seeds, I can permanently increase my HP with that item. Let's see what else I can collect. Alright, so here I'm doing this battle at speed. It's the first one, so you can kind of get a chance to look and see what the menus all do and how this all works, but from here on out, fast motion unless it's a special battle. Unlike original, there's sort of an auto battle mode, so you control what your main character does, and then by default, the rest of the characters just do their own thing. And typically, just for the speed of playing, I like that, but there are occasions when you want to take control and be more strategic, when enemies have certain weaknesses or whatnot. The system seems to be pretty good at detecting those and using the right things, but I have found sometimes battles get a little long when you don't have the human intervention. So now we're just playing around the menus a little bit. Didn't take too long, but already we've got Laius up to level 2. So we see the stat increases, some extra HP, some extra attack power, not unexpected. And then Pierre also, we're seeing that increase, also a little bit more MP, and a new spell. Poof! Poof makes enemies disappear from battle. But the success rate isn't always that great, so I don't use much. And then a bonus medicinal herb on top of all that, so awesome. So basically right now I'm just wandering around collecting some enemies, trying to build up a little bit of my initial leveling so that I can move on to Reeve without necessarily too much difficulty. The enemy difficulty increase is a little sharp in this game relative to the traditional leveling. Like I said, it's balanced out more now, so usually I don't have to do this too much. I'm just doing it now because these initial levels are so quick and easy to get. Now we have a nightfall, so I can head back into town and see what changes have happened at night. If there's new people to talk to or anywhere I can get to now that I couldn't get to before. You can see all the lights came on, so that's how we know that it's going to be nighttime when we go into the town. That boy that was blocking the door to this house is gone, so I guess I can go in now and see if there's anything new in here. A magic water. Well, that's not bad. So remember I was just talking about how MP restoration is not so easy. It's one of the items that does it. But there isn't really a ton of it out there, so you've got to use it somewhat sparingly. I think maybe there's a place that'll sell it in this game now, but... Ooh, and there's another mini medal, so I think that means I have my minimum 2, the Metal King. So I might go visit him again, too. And here we go. Thorn Whip. Okay. So whips are cool because they do not just attack a single enemy like most physical weapons do. A whip will attack the whole group. So when I have 2 slimes and 2 big crows, whichever group I attack, all of them are going to take damage. Then we have boomerangs, and the boomerangs actually hit everybody, let alone just the group. So all the monsters are going to take damage. They're typically not quite as powerful as your best sword would be, but because of the fact they hit multiple enemies, your combined damage from each hit is going to be a lot higher. So wherever possible, it's really nice to have one of those equipped. Now back to my house. Whenever I'm bored of it being night, I can always trigger the day by just talking to old Ma here, and she will send me to bed and wake me up in the morning when it's time to go and see all the shops being open and everything else. So now that I have my party in place, got a little tiny bit more gold, I can go see if there's maybe some new things to buy and some anything else I can do. Another pot. Easy to miss them sometimes. They're just sitting there. All right. 228 gold now. Enough to buy some of the nice stuff. So, for example, that copper sword, 10 additional attack points to Lias and Pierre. So let's get that equipped. Boom. I'm hitting harder. But now that I'm down to 48 gold, there isn't really a lot else I can do, as in nothing else. So, incremental upgrades, one at a time. All right, back in the field. It's time to make sure that all of this new stuff is good to go. Checking out all my items. So I've got those strength seeds. Be good to jack up my strength. Stamina seed here that I could also make some use of. Get my defense up a little bit. Leave the life fruit be for now. I should use it, but my reading's slow, so I didn't see it when I was going through the menu. Now, yep, get that thorn whip equipped. And just wandering through all the other inventory equipment slots and making sure I have the best of the best ready to go. Quite a lot of equipment here that I can upgrade. No sense in sending my guys out underprepared. So as we explore, look for anything suspicious, like this little building here. The Grassland Shrine. So shrines tend to be little gateways to different places, or places where you get a bit of advice or all kinds of things. Sometimes there'll be an inn or something in it. This one has a couple people hanging around and a little bit of treasure, but mostly it has this cave through which I can get into that connected tunnel network that connects the Cape Cave, the Tower Najima, Aliahan, and this shrine all in one underground network. So you can really get across this whole half of the island pretty much without ever going outside, if you were so inclined and don't mind battling monsters to do it. But as a first little foray in here, let's see what we can find. Always love treasure. Gold is welcome. The tougher in the way of monsters than we were having on the overworld as well, so getting my experience up a little quicker. So this map shows my little extent of the corridor. This stair goes up to the tower. To the left here, we can get into the Cape Cave, and way off to the right is an entrance into Aliahan Castle. We saw the other end of it from the dungeon. But now that I'm down in the cave, we can kind of take a look at what that looks like. So essentially, I could just go up these stairs, get into the tower, and move on. But I do want to go to Reeve first, just to make sure there's no missing pieces. I don't want to get all the way to the top of the tower and find out, like, oh no, you didn't talk to this person, or oh no, you needed this special magic door opening avocado or something. Who knows? So let's go and follow the story in the traditional and linear fashion. The shortcut was there in the original game too, but we had a little bit more of a incentive, I think, to not use it directly. As you can see, I've got one guy down already. Once that happens, there is not a lot of ways to reverse it at this point in the game, so I just gotta make my way to town and talk to the church. Fork over some of my hard-earned gold, and then I'll be back right as rain. Time to make use of the old church. Good thing, unlike other businesses, they don't tend to close down at night. The priest will just hang out and wait for any lost souls to come in and ask for help. For a small donation, of course. But can't be moving on with a somewhat belamed party. Now we see that exclamation point means we have somebody who is a key person to talk to. Since I was told to go to Reeve and find out what's going on, this seems to be the guy that has the dirt. So he knows about the secret passage, where I just ended up having a guy go down, but also knows a little bit about the tower. Just keep getting seeds again, so should try to use some of them up. And also the books, of course. Love to get stronger, so make that little personality adjustment. Since I arrived here at night, I'm going to sort of see what I can do, talk to everybody before I go to the inn and convert it to day, and then do it all again. So when you encounter somebody who's weird, like a kid up in the middle of the night who just says something random sounding, oftentimes that could in fact be one of those monsters that you get to recruit. There'll be more on that later, but can't do it right now anyway. So many locked doors. Alright, so now we have our weapon shop number 2. The chain sickle is a new item, as is the turtle shell. They're both pretty expensive. Don't have enough money for either of them right now, although almost. But we'll just do a little bit of shopping here. This is another new addition with the remake. We have these little secret areas. Oftentimes, some of the recruitable monsters will be hanging out here. They usually have treasure of some kind, maybe in a pot, or a chest, or a barrel, or a hanging bag, or whatever it is. Once in a while, there's even a person here to talk to, but not too often. But a holy knife, there we go. A good wizard weapon. And then we carry on. They're just these little small areas hidden out and about. I'll just check on all my equipment again, make sure everybody's got good stuff. Make use of any remaining things that I need to. And then here is the other entrance to that place we've been in a few times, the cave, the shrine, the castle, the tower, all linked. So make our way through this little cave portion. Pick up any little treasures and continue to work on leveling up my guys. That's a big group of crows. That's why having whips are awesome. You just blast through them all. Caves aren't usually too large in these older games, so we can make our way through fairly quickly. To get back to that underground sewer. I also continue to get more spells to make the enemies die just that much quicker. And we're back up in the underground sewer where we came to before. And here are the steps up to the tower. Okay. Nejima Tower. I would consider this to be sort of the first dungeon of the game, even though it's predominantly above ground. There aren't really any jail cells in it, but we'll call it that nonetheless. So as I recall from the original game, this was called the Tower of Nejima in the North American release. Nejimi Tower here. Also been known as the Dreamer's Tower, I believe in the DS remake. For whatever reason, we always have this innkeeper here that decided to set up shop in this unusual place. So I guess this place gets its visitors for some reason or another. That woman outside the inn is another one of those suspicious characters. Seems a little out of place. So might have to come and talk to her again at some point down the road, once I've reached a certain point of progression. But otherwise, we'll just continue looting the place. Right, the boomerang. The whip is now dead to me. The boomerang means my attack will hit everybody. Much, much, much better. And finally, here we are at the top room of the tower, and we see one of those exclamation points with a guy who's snoozing away. He seems to be our objective after we find our dirty encyclopedia.
おお、やっと来たようじゃな。わしは幾度となくお前に鍵を渡す夢を見ていた。だからお前にこの盗賊の鍵を渡そう。受け取ってくれるな。それを持ってレーベ村の赤い扉の家に行くがよい。そこにいる者が次の道を示してくれるはず。ところでこの世界にはそなたの性格を変えてしまうほど影響力のある本が存在する。もしそのような本を見つけたら気をつけて読むことじゃな。では行くがよい。わしは夢の続きを見るとしよう。
And just like that, I have the thief's key. So all those red doors, they're now openable. Another fun adjustment from the original game, you used to only be able to use your Chimera Wings or transport spells when you were outside. If you tried to do it inside, you'd fly upwards, your head would smack into a ceiling, you'd drop back down, and that was that. But they have adjusted things a little bit now, so we can just fly away from wherever we are. So let's choose our destination. So I'm going to actually go back all the way to Aliahan because I want to open up all those red doors in the castle. And I'll make my way forward to that final red door that we need to worry about in Reef. And I've achieved another mini medal milestone, so I can get myself that leather dress I've always wanted. Alright, I think I got all the treasure that I can from all the red doors. So let's go to Reeve now and move us along a little bit on this quest. Always good, though, to use up these seeds, too. Hate walking around with my stats lower than they have to be. Can't very well walk by the weapon shop, though, when I'm sitting on all this money. Gotta make sure I'm getting everybody the best thing I can. So, Daddy Roo could get a chain sickle and have a higher attack, but I'm not giving up that boomerang just yet, so we'll leave that be. But that turtle shell, how can you go wrong with that? Master Roshi! Think I missed talking to this person before. Ooh, a new house. Gotta love another seed. Maybe we'll leave the strange liquid alone for now. And another exclamation point guy. Woo!
おなんじゃお前さんは。わしの家には鍵をかけておいたはずじゃが、もしや鍵を持っておるのか。なんと、それは盗賊の鍵。するとお前さんがあの勇者オルテガの。そうじゃったか。であれば、これをお前さんに渡さねばなるまい。その玉を使えば、旅の扉への封印が解けるはずじゃ。しっかり旅の支度を整え、この大陸の東にある泉に向かうがよい。気をつけてゆくのじゃぞ。この先お前さんには多くの困難が待ち受けているじゃろう。あのオルテガさえもついに帰ってこんかった。お前の母も気丈に振る舞ってはいるが、心の奥底では悲しく寂しい思いをしているに違いない。たまには故郷に戻り、母親に元気な顔を見せてやってくれ。
Interesting, this guy seems to know my mother so well, but I don't know him at all. Regardless, I'll take him up on that advice and periodically head home. Always seems to happen. Have to go back for the Metal King every now and then. Anyway. But with that, pretty much done with Reeve, and it is time to start exploring my way off of this continent, or island, or whatever we want to call it, and explore the great big world beyond. Last, another feature on the map that I can check out. The small shrine, Chisana Hokura. So this guy didn't really do much for me beyond just remind me that I can move ahead now that I have the magic ball. Which honestly looks suspiciously like a bomb. If you've ever played Dragon Quest Builders, those become a feature. Alright, he says we should go up and see the spring, Yuzumi. So let's do that. And the spells keep rolling in. Invitation Cave is kind of a funny name. But let's see if we really are invited. Down and down and down we go. Yet another old dude here. Let's address this exclamation point. I see this big seal. Again, looks like a bomb to me. Boom! And the seal's gone.
お主にこれを授けよう。
Ooh, so now I can see the world beyond Aliahan. But gotta get out of this cave
この
first.
洞窟を抜けた先には果てしなく広き世界が待っておる。気をつけていくのじゃぞ。
Alright, let's see what devilish little things await me down here. Another suspicious character. Somehow behind the seal that's been sealed for who knows how long, and yet he's just standing here for no reason. Down even a little more. Oh, and here we have a glowing blue square, which, if you're familiar with Dragon Quest much, is the travel door. So now I have been transported to some mysterious place somewhere else in the world, which is apparently the Invitation Shrine. It's a two-way door, so I can always transport back if I want to, but for the moment, I think I'll keep exploring forward. And here we go. The shrine looks pretty broken and destroyed above ground. There's a little pot with some treasure. So I think it's time to try and see where I have landed.
Mate, 待つのじゃ。間に合ったか。お主、よくこのスライムに攻撃しなかったな。こやつであれば。よかったな。もう何も怖がることはないぞ。お前さん、知っておるか？この世界にはごく稀に魔性が消えておとなしくなるモンスターが現れるのじゃ。このスライムのようにな。はっはっは。お主、早速気に入られたようじゃな。わしはそういった魔性が消えたモンスターたちを集めて世話をしておる。おっと、名乗るのが遅れたな。わしこそかの有名なモンスターじいさんじゃ。やはりわしの名は世界中に轟いておったか。お主には見どころがある。もしまたどこかで魔性が消えたモンスターを見つけたら、わしのもとに送ってくれぬか。ささやかじゃが多少の礼もしよう。どうか覚えておいてくれ。この先の町ロマリアにはそんなモンスター同士の力比べの場、モンスターバトルロードもある。気が向いたら寄ってみるがよい。わしもそこにおる。ではまた会おう、若き旅人よ。
Now that we've met the old man monster trainer and his pet slime, this feels like a good place to end part 1 of this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and check in next time to see where we'll explore next. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.